enjoy and experience video every single day of our lives, whether it's just watching videos on our personal devices or going to the local cinema to catch the latest blockbuster, or perhaps just watching some videos online to get the latest information about current trends, or even watching live events, moments and things that we'll remember and carry with us for the rest of our lives. Video has a way of impacting us like no other medium, and it's never been easier for us to tell our own stories through the advancements in technology around video, from our smartphones to our DSLRs, our mirrorless cameras, or to the most highest end equipment out there for making video. What's important to understand is that production around video is a collaborative process as well. There's so much that happens behind the scenes, from the beginning to middle all the way to the end, to make our narratives and our videos perfect. This course will give you all the information that you need, no matter what type of video that you want to capture, so that you can become the next great filmmaker. Our mission here is to change lives, providing great education which is accessible and affordable to everyone all over the world, giving you flexibility to learn in your own time. We are a globally recognized online education company. We want you to master practical skills today. And what makes us different from other online educators is that we offer real engagement, qualifications and success, allowing you to achieve your goals and build on your career. Attending your lessons is very straightforward. You can attend your lessons via our app on your smartphones. You can attend through your browser, www.shawacademy.com, and you can attend on your tablets as well. We will send you reminders so that you never ever have to miss a lesson. And don't forget to download our app if you haven't done so already. It's available on the App Store and indeed on the Play Store as well. Now, so without further ado, welcome everybody to the Professional Diploma in Video Production and Editing. Welcome to lesson number 1. My name is William Eames. I am your course educator. Some of you may recognize me from the photography course, but if this is your first course with me, a big welcome to you, and thank you so much for choosing to study with me and Shaw Academy. I have a background in photography, primarily with over 15 years of experience in the industry, but I also have a huge amount of experience with video capture and video production and editing as well. You are on module number 1 of a 4-module course. Each module contains about 8 to 10 lessons depending on the module, and we will take you from a basic level all the way to a proficient level, and at the very end you can obtain your professional diploma in video production and editing. Let's have a look at what we're going to cover in this first lesson. So we're going to take things easy. We're going to have a look, first of all, at our first steps into video. What are the important considerations that you need to make before you get out there and you start shooting? We'll have a look at what you want to film, what types of video that are out there for us to capture, and again some considerations around that, what you need to know if you want to hone in on a particular area of video that you want to become a master of. And we'll have a look then at how you can get out and start capturing videos straight away and start enjoying creating stories. So let me ask you a very quick question. What is video production and editing all about? No matter what type of video you want to capture, whether it's something that you just want to put on your Instagram stories, or perhaps it's something that you want to put on YouTube, or perhaps you want to become the next big movie director. No matter what type of video, it is all about telling stories. Fundamentally, capturing video is about creating a narrative and telling the viewer a story, giving them information and letting them come away with a message. And that is very important to bear in mind as we continue on throughout this course. Anybody can tell a great story. Everybody has the ability to tell a great story. Everybody has a great story in them. It is all just about learning how to use what's available to you to tell the story in the best way that you can. So with that in mind, let's have a look at our first steps and considerations when getting started with video capture. And the very first thing you need to think about is what equipment that you are using to capture and to make your videos. So whether you're using something like a smartphone, or perhaps you've got a DSLR, or perhaps you're lucky enough to have some kind of higher end video capture equipment, you really need to understand everything about it so that you can get the most out of that device. So first of all, what type of device are you using? Do you know what its advantages are? So for example, capturing video on a smartphone, these are so small, they're so portable, the quality of video on them is getting better every single month. Just month on month, there just seems to be advances when it comes to this type of technology. But they also would have limitations. What are its limitations around sound? Is the video quality as good as, say, from a DSLR or from higher cine type cameras? So it's really important to understand exactly what your device is capable of doing and what its limitations are as well, so that you're not going to come away feeling disappointed about the footage that you've captured, or that you could also problem solve and find ways to work around the limitations of your device. When you've captured your footage as well, it's also very important then to consider how you're going to edit that footage. So capturing footage, as you're going to see when we continue on throughout this course, it is only such a small part of actually what's involved in the whole video process, which is why we say video production, because it's not just capturing video. There's so much more involved before we even capture video. But it's also important to consider what happens after we've captured the video, and that is how we're going to put our footage together. So how are you going to piece together your story? Have you got software that you can use to put your footage together? Do you want to add effects? Do you want to add graphics? Do you want to add visual effects? Do you want to add sound effects, to enhance your story? Are these effects going to be necessary, to get your message across? Do you understand the technical specifications around editing? Do you understand frames per second? Do you understand file formats? And do you understand resolution? All of these things are going to be important so that you understand how to output your video to its best quality. And of course, these are all things we're going to cover throughout the course. Another huge consideration is sound, and I think sound is something that is often overlooked by people capturing video in the beginning. The quality of sound can really either enhance or deteriorate the footage and the narrative that we have created. So how are you capturing sound? Are you going to add music? Are you going to add effects afterwards as well? So these are really important questions to ask yourself. Most devices will have some type of microphone built into them, but usually that microphone is going to be very limited in terms of its range and in terms of its playback as well. So you may look at having to capture sound either separately or through a device that will attach to your equipment. Before we even begin to capture video, we should always have some type of vision or some type of plan of what it is that we want to capture, even if it's the most basic, simple thing that we want to do. So you need to think about what your video is all about. What is ultimately its message? You know, who is going to be seeing this? What do you need to make it successful? So do you need to add artificial lights to make it successful? Do you need to write a script to make it successful? Do you need to hire an actor to make it successful? These are all things that you will have to consider. And what are the potential problems that you might encounter? And problem solving is such a huge part of video production. It's trying to anticipate the issues that you might have, and if you do encounter those issues, how you're going to overcome them when they arise. And I mentioned them there, but it's also really important that you take time to think about who do you want to see this film? Where are they going to see this film? Are they going to watch it online? Are they going to watch it on their phones? Are they going to watch it in a theater? Are they going to watch it on TV? So you need to think about that as well. Is your film engaging? Is it entertaining? Is it informative? What type of film is it? Is it a documentary? Is it a music video? Or is it just something like a vlog? You know, what is ultimately what your film is going to be about? And is it engaging? Is it entertaining? And does the viewer come away with some type of information to think about? And finally, as I mentioned, where will people see this film? Where would you like them to see your footage? Is it something that you would like to be shown in a theater? Is it something that you would like just to be shown on a website? Or is it something that's going to go on your Insta stories? And this is really important to think about, because it does have an impact on type of a video, how that video is going to be made, whether it's going to be a short video or whether it's going to be a very long video. And here is something for you to think about, is that worldwide, more than 75% of videos are viewed on mobile devices. So I would imagine even right now as I'm speaking to you that a huge number of you are watching this lesson back through your iPhones or your Android phones, or you're watching it on a tablet, and that a small A very small minority of people are sitting down to watch it on a laptop or on a desktop. The way the world is, we just experience most video now through our mobile device because we're always on the go, we're always on the move. So consider that when you are capturing footage that worldwide, more than 75% of videos are viewed on mobile devices. Now, so moving on to our next topic, what do you want to film? Okay, what is your unique vision? So now, you've asked yourself lots of questions, you've had a look at your equipment, you've considered what you're going to use to edit and how you're going to capture sound and so on. But what exactly is it that you want to capture? Now, maybe you want to capture all types of video, or maybe there's a specific type of area that you want to get into. So in this section, I'm going to have a look at some of the more popular areas and just, again, a couple of things that you just need to think about if you want to be successful in these particular areas. For example, starting off with vlogging. Vlogging has become huge over the last decade because mainly, of course, of YouTube and, the amount of videos that are watched on YouTube every single day. It's has actually now become a viable career option for many people, is to create and capture and produce vlogs online. However, it isn't as straightforward as you might consider it, and the most successful vloggers are the ones that put more time and more effort into the production of the videos that they produce. So, a couple of things to think about. Vlogging used for social media and for blogs. So if you have your own personal blog, can often get you sponsorships and so on as well if you do very, very well with them. But they're usually going to be short videos. These types of videos are made to be consumed on mobile devices. So for example, a makeup type of blog typically wouldn't be very, very long. You would probably have a video that ranges anywhere from 2 or 3 minutes if they're just talking about a particular makeup brush, to something a little bit more advanced that might be 20 minutes, to go a little bit more in detail about a makeup type of tutorial. But typically you're not going to produce a video that is very, very long in length. Minimal edits to keep flow. So, editing is usually quite seamless when it comes to these types of vlogs, and they're quite rapid, they're quite fast, they're not elaborate edits that kind of, are interrupt the flow of the video. Bright lighting is also very, very important because you're going to be more than likely lighting your face. So, you're going to want to make sure that you're nice and well lit, and that everything is nice and soft, obviously because you want to be quite flattering as well. So understanding lighting is going to be very important with vlogs as well. And keeping audience attention is a challenge. Successful vlogging is all about engagement. It's all about always offering your viewers something new to keep them coming back. And when they are there, keeping them there is another challenge as well. So, and most vlogs are going to be entertaining, light, and still informative. But generally, vlogging is all about entertainment, so it should be kind of light and informative. And give the viewer something to think about afterwards as well. Moving on from that, very, very popular area is documentary film, and particularly over again the last few years because of the incredible series that are produced by the BBC. You know, the kind of David Attenborough-led narratives on the documentaries, the technology that's employed to capture wildlife and so on as well. You know, documentary is a very, very appealing area for filmmakers, but it's also, I would argue, probably the most challenging area for filmmakers to get into, and that's because you need a very, very high technical knowledge. You are using the most cutting edge equipment to capture, you know, if you're doing documentaries on animals in particular, you are going to be using the most cutting edge equipment. You're often working in very, very difficult, extreme conditions because lots of documentaries, you know, look at you know, things that are kind of out of reach to us on an every day. It can take months to capture footage. There's so many stories of, you know, particularly again, wildlife documentary filmmakers, you know, waiting weeks and weeks and months even, you know, to just get this one little piece of footage, you know, that's shown in these documentaries. But often it can be absolutely amazing. Planning is essential. Understanding your subject will engage the viewer. So you don't want to just go out there and start capturing footage. You still need to have some type of plan in terms of who it is you're capturing, or what it is you're capturing, or where it is that you're capturing, because you're communicating what your interest and your vision and the reason that this subject has you know, interested you in the first place. You need to communicate that with the viewer. And the subject can be almost anything or anyone. So, you know, I'm using animals and wildlife as examples here, but it absolutely can be about anything. So perhaps, you know, where you grew up has an interesting history, so you might consider doing a documentary about that. And you can start thinking about the local landscape. You can think about its history. You can think about the people that are there now, or the people that came before, you know, and you're building up a narrative, you know, through all of these elements that come together to create this place. So documentaries, they can be about absolutely anything that comes to mind. And of course, they can be positive or they can be negative as well. Now, consider how you tell the story. You should try to remain objective. And what we mean by objective is you should present the facts and the information as it is and let the viewer make up their own minds based on the information that you have shared with them. A good documentary will be informative and will present the facts as they are, giving you all the information to make your own decisions about what has been presented to you. TV production. So TV production is having I suppose, a bit of a renaissance because of streaming services like Netflix, like Disney Plus, and so on as well. You know, putting their money into producing much higher quality TV than there was in the past. And of course, about 20 years ago, we had the golden age of TV as well, with shows like The Wire, Sopranos, HBO-led shows, which really raised the bar when it came to TV production. So TV production now, in a way, is almost like cinema production in terms of the quality and the standards, but it can be the absolutely to the other end as well. It can be, news programs, it can be interview type shows and so on. It's a very, very broad area, TV production. And it's, again, a very highly technical area. There's a huge amount of challenges involved when it comes to it. You will be always usually working with a large team, producers, directors of photography, actors, script writers, sound engineers. There's loads and loads of people that you'd be working with when it comes to TV production. If you're doing live TV, it can be seriously high pressure. Even if any of you have experience doing live streaming, whether it's streaming of a video game, or if you do a live stream on YouTube for vlogging or anything like that, you understand that it's a huge amount of pressure. Pressure to meet deadlines if you are working for a production company. Typically, they always want everything yesterday. Very high production standards to be met. As I said as well, those production standards just kind of getting better as the quality of television gets better. Lighting and technical knowledge is also a must. You really can't walk into these types of jobs without having a great in-depth detail on all of the equipment and the lighting that you're going to be using. And the ability to tell a quick, concise narrative is essential. And what I mean by that is that TV production also falls into the realm of advertising. And advertising, as you know, you can be given 30 seconds to do something, to tell something, to explain something to a viewer, and ultimately then to try and get them to buy or to interact with whatever it is that the advertisement is trying to communicate. And even now, with our watching videos on YouTube and online, advertisements can now be 5 seconds as well, trying to tell a narrative in 5 seconds. That is a good challenge. So, TV production, very, very difficult area. Music videos, a very fun and creative and conceptual area to get into. But music videos, you can be very, very creative with them. Conceptual thinking is needed, and what I mean by conceptual thinking is coming up with ideas, coming up with something that, is related to the music, but not necessarily is literal, is not necessarily going to be taking, say, the lyrics from that music word for word and putting them into a visual sense, but to try and come up with an idea that suits the piece of music that's being put to. It can actually be done with any budget. There's loads of examples out there of loads of different types of videos that were done on shoestring budgets, that were done just using phones, that don't have to be, really high production, type of videos where there's lots going on and there's loads of stunts and everything like that. they can't really be done on any type of budget. Sound is added in post-production, so typically with this you're not trying to record the audio as you're capturing that footage as well, but you might have the audio of the music playing obviously in the background with the music artist so that they can sync up with it afterwards. Again, you're typically working as a team, but a much smaller team compared to much higher production. But again, it's going to be all about the particular artist and the particular type of video that you're trying to make. And doesn't always have to feature the artist. Some music videos don't feature the artists at all. There's animated videos that are put to music, out there for different various artists. So again, you can get creative with this and really approach it in a different type of way. So music videos are a very, very fun project to do. And then, of course, we have cinema, and we all have hopefully some experience when it comes to cinema, sitting in a theatre and watching a movie, although for some of us that might have been some time ago now at this stage. But when it comes to cinema, every single element is important. So right from the conception of the movie that you want to film, whether it's something that you're making yourself or whether you're working as part of a team on a script, to develop something. There's so many people involved, and every single one of them has a very important role to do. It can be very, very expensive to produce. It can be very difficult to get funding for making movies. Movies need the backing of studios. Unless you can fund it yourself, unless you're in a position to fund it yourself, a big part of cinema is just trying to get the money together to make the production. You will definitely be working as a team. You'll be working with lighting crew. You'll be working with directors, actors, producers, script writers, sound engineers again, and then in certain cases hundreds of other people, all running around the set. And that's not even talking about the actors as well. Post-production skills and knowledge of editing are essential. So again, likely if you're part of a big team, a part of a big crew that is filming something, your role could be anything from capturing the footage, or it could be to working on the footage afterwards when it is in post-production. Even if you don't plan on working on the footage yourself, it's still really important to have some knowledge of exactly what happens in post-production, so that if it doesn't come out exactly the way that you want it, that you have the vocabulary to communicate exactly what you want it to look like and where you think those problems lie. And again, of course, post-production is something we are going to be having a look at as we continue on throughout this course. Intense pre-production, production and post-production required. So these are the 3 steps when it comes to cinema, and indeed to any type of video. Pre-production is planning. Pre-production is getting your team together. It's getting and communicating with everybody who's involved, the writers, the actors, director, etc. Production is the actual filming of it, and then post-production is all the stuff that happens afterwards. And audience experience is obviously then a huge consideration. A good movie will be a successful movie, hopefully. You're always thinking about the audience, and it absolutely allows for creative freedom and expression. You can create a completely original screenplay, completely original movie, and you never know, you could be the next big thing. So let us know, what do you want to film? What area would you like to get into? Perhaps you want to try all of these out, or perhaps there's a particular area that you saw here that you really want to try, or perhaps there's an area that I didn't cover, I didn't mention. Let us know. You can interact with us throughout these lessons via Morpheus. So you may have come across him already. Morpheus is here to answer any questions that you have throughout the course, and indeed to answer any questions that I pose to you. You can find them there in the right hand corner of your screens, and you can type in any questions that you may have throughout the course. If there's anything you're unsure about, and there's so much more that he can do there for you as well. So remember to chat with Morpheus as we continue on throughout this course. Now, so just quickly looking forward to what's coming up in the next lesson, we're going to have a look at how to get capturing footage on our cameras. We'll have a look at our basic settings so that we can get the correct exposure. We'll have a look at resolution to make sure you select the right resolution for the right type of device as well. And we'll talk a very important concept, a very important subject when it comes to capturing video, which are frames per second. So be sure to join me for that lesson. Just to finish out this lesson, I'm going to have a look at getting started with filming. So we're going to talk about equipment and give you some tips then that you can use straight away to get out there and start enjoying capturing video. And I just want to say, no matter what device you are using, any device with the option to record can capture a great story. It's just all about how you use it. It's all about the person capturing the footage and not the device itself. And the great example of this is a movie, a recent enough film, Unsane. This is directed by Steven Soderbergh, and it was shot entirely on an iPhone. So iPhones have obviously come a long way, and smartphones in general a long way over the last decade, to the point that you can now film major motion pictures using iPhones. So some of you may have seen that film. I haven't seen it myself. I've seen some clips from it, but that was all done entirely on an iPhone. Now, from a sound perspective, I'm sure you had a sound team there to help out in that. But in terms of the visual side of it, all done through iPhone. So definitely check out that film. And I just want to show that it's an example that you don't have to have the latest and greatest cameras to get out there and start capturing amazing footage. But having a quick look at the cameras that are available to us. So you may be using your smartphone to capture at the moment. You might be using an action camera like a GoPro, or perhaps you have a camcorder that you're capturing on as well. These cameras they all have one thing in common really, which is that you can get out there and you can start recording straight away without having to worry too much about the settings. Now, that's not to say that they don't have settings that you can change, which we are going to look at, in the next lesson. But these types of devices are great if you just want to pick up, get out, and start making and capturing footage straight away. Our camcorders, unfortunately, they're kind of dying off now a little bit because of smartphones in particular, but you may still be using the camcorder, and these will offer a little bit more in the way of zoom, when it comes to being able to zoom in and out on your subject and that. But from a pure convenience point of view, smartphones, honestly, they're the best way to get started when it comes to getting into video. But devices that we're going to be kind of concentrate as we move on throughout this course are going to be ILCs, which are interchangeable lens cameras. And I say ILCs because I'm talking about DSLRs and mirrorless cameras. Any camera that has the ability to change the lens on it is an interchangeable lens camera. Okay, so rather than kind of making the distinction between a DSLR or a mirrorless camera, and if you want to know more about that, do check out my photography course. We're going to refer to them as ILCs. These are light and versatile cameras in the most case. Very, very high quality. A lot of these cameras now have 4K ability as well. They have huge range of accessories, so we can plug in microphones, we can plug in lights, and of course we have the ability to be able to change lenses. However, they can be very, very expensive depending on the type of model that you go for. For example, the Sony Alpha 9 series, the A9 series here, very highly rated, mirrorless camera for doing video, but it's also very, very expensive. But there are other variations and versions that you can go for that are suitable for your budget. If you are looking at getting into a DSLR and you are on a budget, €500 or $500 is a very good price point to start with. Now, the very highest end, you would be looking at something like the RED cameras. The cinema cameras are cine cameras for short. So there's a couple of variations of these. RED is probably the most popular one. Canon have a great cine range as well. Blackmagic cameras would also be very, very high quality and are actually a lot more affordable than a setup like this. But just want to give you an idea of the types of cameras that are now being used for the biggest budget productions that are being used for the highest quality blockbusters that are out there. Something like this, as you can see, very, very complex setup, difficult to operate. So as you can see, there's quite a lot going on. We've got a rig here, attached to the camera so that it can be mounted on somebody's shoulder, has focus pulling on it as well, so the actual focus is controlled by the handles, rather than having to change the focus on the lens itself. Loads of more features and options then into lens changeable cameras. As you can see here as well, like in the terms of the sound options at the back of the camera, there's lots of XLR cables and stuff which we'll talk about again at a later stage to make sure that the sound quality is at the highest quality as well. A huge range of lenses, the highest quality lenses as well. And I'm talking about lenses that are, you're talking about tens of thousands of euro in terms of the quality of the lenses. Again, we'll speak about lenses, in lesson number 3. There is a difference between our camera lenses and cine lenses, which I will go into more detail at a later stage. And these are, to say they're expensive is an understatement. Very often they're rented out by studios, they're rented out by production teams rather than actually owning these. And if you ever were to make the investment in this type of camera, it would really be with the intention that you're offering your services to create the absolute highest level quality video that people are willing to pay for. Now, just a couple of top tips to consider just before we finish up this lesson. So the first thing I would say to you is always keep it steady. So when it comes to video, a good tripod is a must. Camera shake should be avoided at all costs when shooting video. Very unforgiving when you have shaky footage. So tripods are great for more kind of static shots. If you're setting up kind of landscape shots or you're doing interviews, but they are a little bit more limited in movement, however. So you may also want to have a look at a gimbal or a Steadicam, and this is the way to go. There's hundreds of variations of these, and there's lots of great ones for phones as well. So if you're doing a lot of footage on your phone, these are just absolutely great for action and creative capturing, because they will still keep your footage steady while allowing you the freedom to move around. Unfortunately, they can be also quite pricey, depending on the type of one that you go for the type of camera that you're using. But it is just more the point, I suppose. You want to try and keep your footage as steady as possible. When you're filming people, very, very important that you leave enough headroom. Leaving the correct amount of headroom is going to be something that will come naturally to you as you continue on throughout this course, but always be sure to leave enough room above the head. This space will make everything look correctly composed, but you also want to make sure that you don't leave too much headroom, otherwise it's going to look like they're at the bottom of the frame and they're sinking out of the shot. Now, our cameras have very advanced autofocus systems that are brilliant and generally won't let us down, but sometimes autofocus can fail. So if you find that your camera's not finding focus for you, remember your manual focus control. It will be slower going, you need to be a little bit more careful with it, but it'll give you ultimately more control. And typically I'll find myself switching over to manual focus when either, say, again, depending on the type of camera that you're using, sometimes autofocus can be very noisy, but also in lower light situations, you might find that the camera really, really struggles to find focus. So manual focus, always there as a backup when you need it. And when you're doing video, it's so important to have spares of absolutely everything. Spare batteries, spare cards, spare light bulbs if you're using lights, spare cleaning cloths to make sure that everything's nice and clean. Whatever you use on a shoot, always try to have a spare, because things break. Things go missing, batteries get, they lose, they get wasted, especially if you're doing intense filming. So always make sure that you have backups. And something I'll often repeat throughout this course: when you are capturing footage, shoot more than you need. Always shoot for the edit. And what I mean by that is that you're always thinking about, to the point when you're putting that footage together, that you have enough footage to work with. Always shoot more than you need. You can always cut out footage, but you cannot add more footage if you do not have it. So there's going to be situations like, say for example, if you're filming a wedding, you want to make sure you've got loads and loads of footage, because you're not going to get the opportunity to film that wedding again, if you suddenly find yourself short. And that is an absolute nightmare. So always, always, always make sure you have more footage than you need. Now, so we've reached the end of our very first lesson, and just before we finish things out, in every lesson you are going to see your skills progress. Now, I've broken this down into 3 specific areas. Now, what you'll see here is we've got our 3 different areas, and we've got 4 going across. That indicates for the 4 different modules. We're just focused on module number 1 for the moment, and we're looking at technical ability, creative vision, and then communication. So technical ability is your ability to understand things like exposure, shutter speeds, apertures, your camera's functions, etc. Creative vision is all about things like composing, your movement, your stories that you create, your vision. And then communication is all about how you're able to use the terms, the vocabulary, to communicate with other people that you will be working with about this whole process. Because, as I've mentioned, you are definitely going to be working, when you're doing video, at some stage with other people, whether it's actors, whether it's a director, whether it's a writer, whether it's just for a client and so on. You need to be able to communicate with them. So it's a vital skill. So after this first lesson, we've learned a little bit, certainly mostly about our creative ability, our technical ability, and a little bit about our creative vision. Communication is something that we'll be certainly developing a lot more as we progress on through this course. Now, so looking forward to our next lesson. Very important lesson when it comes to understanding exactly how video works. We're going to talk frames per second. That's how video is captured. We'll also have a look then as well at resolution and aspect ratio. And this is to do with the quality of your video and the shape of your video as well. Getting it correct for where you want to show it. Now, we do have a challenge at the end of every single lesson. These are challenges now just for fun, so don't worry. These are not something that you have to do. They are optional. but it is worthwhile participating in them and just having a look at what other students are doing as well. So using the hashtag Shaw Video, whether you're on Twitter, whether you're on Instagram or Facebook, let us know what you want to film, what type of things you'd like to capture, and what you are filming with. So do you want to capture documentary using a smartphone? Do you want to create music videos using a DSLR? What is it that you would like to capture? Hashtag Shaw Video. Just simply use that hashtag. You'll be able to see what other students are doing on the course as well. Now, just a very quick reminder as well that if you need any extra information, we also do have toolkits available in your student area. They'll give you summary notes and slides to all the lessons, as well as lots of other bonus content as well throughout this course. And just remember as well, if you're finding it difficult to attend your lessons at any time or any stage, it is possible to reschedule those lessons through the app and indeed through the browser as well. You can change the class date and time. You can also, if you're finding that you're falling behind on your lessons a lot, you can also actually restart the entire course if needed as well. So it's always there available to you to make sure that you attend your lessons. So with all of that, well done on completing lesson number 1. So thank you so much for joining me for this lesson. I will see you all back again very soon for lesson number 2 in the diploma in video production and editing. So until then, bye bye.